All right, so we get a tied up series here, 1-1. As we could really see the skill, I think, coming into this mirror match. I mean, obviously, something we've been trying to do with this 1v1 series is really pick mirror matchups that are as skillful as possible. Um, we've seen stuff like Trampagarb, uh, Buzzgarb versus Hegster last week, super skillful. And then now moving away from those Garb decks towards some Zoroark decks. Still something where you can play really skillful mirror matches that gives you a lot of opportunity to make super cool plays. Everything's not just as linear as a lot of decks are in standard right now. Your ADPs, your Eternatus's, um, a lot of non-linear playmaking ability in these kinds of mirrors. So let's see. Opening up game 3 here, Lee does have access to Lele here with this Ultra Ball. Just has to choose his best possible discards. This is one of the trickiest parts, I think, of playing ZoroPod. At least it was for me, back in 2017, 2018 when I played this. Um, I mean, knowing what to Ultra Ball in the early game is arguably more difficult than knowing what to trade once you establish your board. It feels a lot easier to do that. Ultra Ball discards in the early game are the things that can really punish you if you screw them up. Um, knowing like, okay, do I need this Acerola early? Do I need to keep both of these Pokemon in my hands? Can I Ultra Ball one? Even like knowing if you might need double Guzma there. Like Lee chose to discard a Guzma, but there's certainly some games where I would keep double Guzma in my hand, knowing that I might just want to play successive Guzmas on like turn 2 and turn 3 of the game sometimes. We're gonna see the Wonder Tag from Lee here, though. I think he's had the same opening all 3 games. Start Wimpod and then just have the Wonder Tag for Bridget. Um, Which obviously is your standard Zoroark deck opening in this format, so definitely it's not like weird that he would have that every game, but the Wimpod start every game has been pretty funny, especially since obviously no one is able to take advantage of Wimp Out because of PTCGO, so we see the Bridget here. I think Lee is just going to probably do the same thing he did game 1 and grab triple Zorua. Game 2 we saw him have to mix it up a little bit because he did have 2 Zorua in the prize cards, but this seemed to be the optimal board for him in game 1. Just Bridget for triple Zorua and just, coast from there. And then Russ on the flip side, okay, Russ finally is going to open with a Bridget here. We have not seen a turn 1 Bridget from Russ in either of his first 2 games, which is pretty crazy for a deck that is just designed to do that every game. Um, Obviously, Russ still able to make that big comeback and swing game 2, but finally, it must be really nice for him to see the turn 1 Bridget. We do just see a pass from him beyond that, though. So it has his board established, but not too much else. Trade away Bridget here. Lee wants to find energy here. So double puzzle does not really do anything for him here. I would just blow or parallel and pass. Yeah, dropping the parallel on Russ here is actually pretty good. That's gonna, obviously limit Russ from dropping another Lele here to get a supporter. Um, so we'll see what Russ has to respond to this. But no attack there from Lee, so not quite applying the same early game pressure as he was in the first couple of games. It's gonna be Russ's opportunity here to get the first attack in actually, and that's gonna feel good for him as he was on the back foot in those first 2 games, never being the one to get that first attack off. So we'll see if he can start putting the pressure down on Lee here in this game. What did I tell you? There's the Ridus beating. On to Lee Zorua, taking the first prize of the game. We do see the enhanced hammer from Lee, so that's pretty nice, but Russ has a lot of draw options at this point, should be able to find another one for next turn, or at least find a grass to go in with first impression here, as obviously if Lee punches the opposing Zoroark here, you have to think Russ is just going to go in with Golisopod after an Acerola. However, Lee's going to whiff DCE, so he needs to now trade into DCE or a Floatstone in order to go into his Golisopod here. Ooh, double puzzle. Does he have Float or DCE in discard? I don't think he does. So double puzzle is unable to get him there. Just has to pass. Right? There's no Float, no DCE in discard. So wow, this feels like a nice opportunity for Russ to take the lead here. Just needs to hit an energy here of some sort, and if it's a grass, wants to probably hit a Floatstone. Ironically, because Lee didn't damage him that turn, Russ actually doesn't have Acerola as an out anymore, which is kind of funny. He does find the DTE, and yeah, you want to just apply the pressure here onto Golisopod. Um, Obviously, that's where Lee committed his energy to, so Russ recognizes that, just going to chase that down. And we'll see if we'll see what Lee has here. He'd like to Acerola here. Ooh, Lele is going to get him that Acerola, so that's actually pretty solid. I would Acerola here if I'm Lee. Just going to choose to drop an N. Yeah, so my play here, if I'm Lee, is I just Acerola active, bench both the Wimpods, and swing with Zoroark. I think that's Lee's best play here. You know, you want to... I mean, this mirror often just comes down to Acerola wars, you know, looping those Acerolas. It's kind of last attacker left standing, so whenever you take a hit like that, that's going to set up to be a two-shot, you want to respond with Acerola, and then you want to respond with your own two-shot, right? You're going to force Russ now to have his own Acerola. I love the Enhanced Hammer 2 here from Lee. So now you force Russ to have Acerola and another double. And because there's this Floatstone on the... Or, sorry, this Choice Band on the active here, Russ can't just Floatstone into Golisopod or a fresh Zoroark either. He has to hit an Acerola here, as well as the double or a grass. Alright, I like the Guzma here. This is going to set him up to go even on prizes. So this is something I haven't talked about too much so far, but we have seen it in these games from both players, is knowing when it's correct to smack into a GX but not take a knockout, just set up, you know, to pressure the two-shot, and when it's correct Guzma up one of those single prizers. Because sometimes it is correct to make those sorts of plays when it could be more disruptive to your opponent's board, or it could just set you even on prizes, right? Because obviously Russ now goes to 4 prizes, he's just going to need to take two GX knockouts to finish out the game. So even like potentially a play Russ could do next turn would be like crossing cut Choice Band and go after Lee's Lele, and that means he just needs to win one two-shot war on a Zoroark or a Golisopod to win the game. So always important to keep those kinds of plays in mind in the mirror. That sometimes it is correct to just pick Pokemon off the bench, and that's where the combo of Guzma and First Impression is just so strong. And you know, as like just exactly like I was saying, there's Guzma First Impression from Lee, and we're gonna even the game right up here at 4 prizes. 4 prizes apiece. Lee just takes out Russ's damaged Zoroark, and it now feels like Lee has a little bit of a superior board state here. 2 Zoroarks in play as opposed to 1. as well as the Zorua. Um, and so this is a situation now where like Russ would not want to Guzma Lee's Zorua because it's only a marginal loss in consistency for Lee, and Russ would still need to take probably two GX knockouts to win the game, most likely. So that is not a play that really advantages Russ at all. So if I'm Russ here, I just want to be swinging into Lee's attackers, but it's difficult now because Lee has two attackers with energy. So like it's really hard for Russ to successfully pressure that. Um, Probably wants to enhanced hammer. You know, he definitely wants to draw his enhanced hammer here at some point to prevent Lee from just constantly having two attackers set up. We do see the end to 4 for both players. And just a pass, no attack there. So Lee can actually just, even if he doesn't find anything else here, like a DCE, which obviously a DCE would be great, but even first impression for 60 is not awful because it sets up a 2-shot anyway, with crossing cut, with Riotous beating. Um, yeah, I think that play is honestly totally fine from Lee to just first impression for 60. I think that play would honestly be totally fine. However, Lee wants to push a little bit more here. Just get that Zoroark into play. He does have one more trade, so one more opportunity here to um, dig for a DCE. I don't know if I agree with this Guzma though. I'm not 100% sure if I agree with the Guzma because Lee still has 3 prizes to go here, right? It doesn't really solve his prizing issue. So he's assuming that Russ is going to bench some more single prizers, and then Lee's going to be able to draw back into Guzma to take them out before Russ evolves them. But that feels like a little bit of a risky decision to make. Double Acerola in hand is really, really nice for Lee, though. I will say that, especially since he has 2 attackers set up. Tough decision for Russ here. Do I just swing with Lele? Do I try to first impression? I like swinging with Lele here because if Russ goes with first impression here, ooh, he actually doesn't have anything. He just has to pass. That's unfortunate for Russ. Now Lee can really start running him over with these triple Zoroarks in play. Wow. And there's a double. I would just, yeah, just punch active here. No reason to do anything else. Really strong board position from Lee. Those triple Zoroarks. We do see the max potion from Russ. And just another pass, though. Russ keeps whiffing on energy here, or even like a float stone to go in with first impression. Just whiffing everything. He's down 4N as well. So if Russ ever wants to N in this game, he has to double puzzle for an N, which also sucks for him. Lee just continuing to smack here with Riot is beating. Obviously, if he continues to use trades here, he would deck himself out, so that's why we don't see him digging any further. And there's also just no reason to. I mean, he's perfectly content with this board. Forcing Russ to burn these max potions, burn Acerolas without even having the attack to force Lee to respond. I mean, just really awful spot for Russ. He does have Wonder Tag here. I assume this is just going to get him an Acerola. Yeah, just to stay alive and just hit with first impression here. Alright, interesting here from Russ. I assume this means he has another Acerola in hand, ready to just pick up this Tapu Lele next turn after Lee hits it. And Russ is just setting up the Golisopod to just have 3 grass energy, meaning that it would be immune to Enhanced Hammer from Lee. However, obviously, still not a great board position. And Lee just has to end there to basically prevent himself from decking out. But it is going to take away Russ, presumably having Acerola in hand there. I would just smack again. I really don't think there's any reason. I would even not bench the Coco here, as Lele is a top deck out, right? But prize being for 120. Once again, we'll see if Russ has any response here. I mean, how do you even win this game if you're Russ? It's just so difficult to see a path. Even going for the deck out is not really feasible because Lee does have Floatstone remaining in deck. So I have seen ZoroPod games won or lost due to like Guzma stall deck out before, but I don't think we're gonna see that here. I think both these players are gonna be managing their resources way too well for anything like that to happen. All right, Russ finally able to find an attack there, but oh wait, Lee wins, right? Or more? Well, he doesn't quite win yet. He has 3 prizes, but retreat crossing cut is a play. I don't know. Actually, retreat crossing cut is probably not the play because then Russ could still theoretically win the war of attrition there, right? So where do you go here? Maybe just smack into the Golisopod, force Russ to have another Acerola there. No, just a first impression here actually. Or you could go in with the fresh Zoroark here. All right, I like this play. Um, However, it does get punished a little bit if Russ has an Acerola, I think. Lee's just going to check through Russ's resources here. 2 Acerola and a Max Potion in discard. I believe there should be 1 Acerola remaining for Russ. There's the Enhanced Hammer. That's why we didn't see Enhanced Hammer, or sorry, that's why we didn't see DCE get committed to Lee's active last turn, by the way, because certainly he could have attached an Armor Pressed, but really smart of Lee to hold it because knowing that Russ hadn't played his Enhanced Hammer yet, Russ could have Enhanced Hammered away from the active there, and that would have actually been a lot more damaging to Lee, as he would have kind of been stranded there with no way to use Armor Press next turn, so that's why we didn't see the attachment. But I don't know if Russ has a way to move the Zoroark, and if he doesn't, that's going to be pretty bad for him. I think he has 1 Acerola in deck still, or should. However, it could be prized. So, ooh, he should have double puzzle here, though. So you double puzzle here. What do you get back? Acerola and, like, Choice Band, maybe? I don't know. This is such a tough position for Russ. We did see Russ make a big comeback in game 2, though. Like, it's possible. It's totally possible for him to swing this one back, but it's really, really tough to find that correct line. Hey, Averin, we're just doing like a friendly 1v1. So we've been doing, the past few weeks, we've just been doing kind of an Undaunted versus the World 1v1 series of best of fives of like old, super skill-based mirror matchups. So this is our 4th week of doing that. Like we had a Drampagarb matchup versus Danny, Buzzgarb versus Hegster, stuff like that. So now we're just doing a friendly best of 5 show match. All right, Lee draws into double puzzle, double DCE. That's a pretty strong late game hand. Does have the option to go with something like an Acerola here potentially. This is where the game starts to get really, really grindy here, as Lee needs to start thinking about, like, does Russ have enough stuff left in the tank to where he could deck me out? Do I need to preserve double puzzle to end myself later in the game? These final few turns of ZoroPod Mirror start to just get really, really grindy. And this is where, like, game 2, I was counting Russ out completely, and we saw Russ basically find the line that I didn't and have that insane comeback. So we can see stuff like that in the late game in this mirror. And, again, I haven't personally played this matchup in a couple of years at least, so, Russ has a regional top 8 under his belt with the deck. Lee's been practicing this deck a little bit the past few days, so these guys are definitely bound to find some of those late game lines that I might overlook here. And that's part of what's so cool to watch, really, about these matches, is watching 2 really good players go at it in a format that really rewards those skillful decisions and really punishes you hard for suboptimal decisions, which is just... it certainly that still exists to an extent in Standard right now, but not to the same extent it did in Drampagarb format, ZoroPod format, even Buzzgarb format. So does Russ have the energy? No, the first impression for 150 takes the knockout there. So Russ goes down to 2 prizes. Lee does have a damaged Golisopod on his board. I think we might be seeing another comeback from Russ. After I've been way too fast to count Russ out of these games, but Lee needs to... I would check discard here. You want to see how many Guzma Russ has left, if he, potentially has one left in deck. But Lee might be forced to Acerola this Golisopod here. And potentially, like, go in with his own first impression. Well, he couldn't even first impression, because obviously the Golisopod couldn't come back down into play. Yeah, man, this is a really tough. I mean, this is a really, um, really tough decision to make here. Russ says, I'm drawing like garbage, but this game is super good. I would agree. This game has dragged on for a long time, and Lee is running out of resources. Yeah, Lee says, my brain. I mean, I'm not even playing, and my brain still hurts a little bit from trying to figure out all the lines here and like, all right, what plays could these guys make next? What resources do they have left? Lee has to be careful to not deck himself out here. Uh, this game, yeah, this has been such an entertaining game to watch because it seemed like Russ was totally out of it for a vast majority of the game. But it's just such a war of attrition, like such a grindy war of attrition with all these Ace Rolls, Max Potions, E Hammers, um, Kuzma's Ends. There's a play here. I was gonna say there's a play here for Lee, but it doesn't quite work. I don't even know where you go here. Do you crossing cut? Do you just Guzma and just knock out the Zorark and hope that this is why we play Guru? Yeah, yeah. So these guys, this was famously the Collinsville regionals where Russ top aided, where he played Oranguru in his ZoroPod list, which at the time, a lot of people just hadn't realized how strong of a card Oranguru was, and Russ was kind of really one of the first people to recognize how broken that card was and just threw it into his Zorark list. Ostensibly as like a stall deck tech, but put in a ton of work in the mirror match throughout the weekend as well. So these guys opted to not play the Oranguru today because they knew that if both these guys are playing Guru, the games were going to drag out for hours and hours, and personally, I wasn't going to sit here and cast 5 hours of ZoroPod Mirror, and I don't think these guys wanted to play it either, so Lee goes for the crossing cut, but, like, what's his line to win this game now? Like, he still has to go through another two-prizer. I don't think Russ is going to put another one-prizer into play, knowing that Lee should have a Guzma remaining. Russ can actually win the game with a Guzma, can't he? He can just take out Lee's Glycopod on the bench. But Russ seems to be down for Kuzma. And I don't know if he has puzzles remaining. 2 puzzles. Okay, Lee highlighting it there for us. Russ does have 2 puzzle remaining in deck unless one of them is prized. If one of them is his last 2 prizes, that's pretty unfortunate because it means he's totally out of Guzmas for the remainder of this game. And that's his out at this point, is knocking out Lee's damaged Glycopod. So, Wonder Tag for not Guzma. What could this be? Maybe an end to 1? See what Russ wants to go for here. It's so funny how long this game has dragged out. Okay, Russ actually just not taking a supporter there as he has 4N in the discard as well. So actually just out of supporters. The Lele is not going to function any more than just a search through his deck there. So Russ just thinking about what his path to win is here. Could take out Lee's Coco. So both of these guys now at 1 prize with only 2 prizers in play. And Russ is out of Guzma. And Lee needs to save this end just so he doesn't deck out. I mean, this game has been an insane grind. But Russ keeps the pressure on. These guys are, I mean, Russ might still have double puzzle available to him. We're not quite sure. Could be his last prize, but I think we should be assuming that Russ has double puzzle left. Lee is out of puzzles. He does have one Guzma, one Acerola left to work with. Um, man, this is just a tough decision. As Lele here, um, don't want to promote that because Crossing Cut then wins the game for Russ with another energy attachment. Um, Ride Speeding doesn't feel too good either, though, because it's only doing 80 damage. I don't know if Lee has Choice Band left. The Blower here is pretty good. Prevents the Crossing Cut GX play next turn, right? So Russ can no longer get up to 180 and have like Guzma Floatstone Energy to knock out that Lele. So if Russ is able to get double puzzle, he might still not have enough cards for that combo. So I like the Blower there from Lee. I don't think you can afford to trade. I think this game might go long enough that you need to just never trade any more cards and just use that end next turn and just hope. Yeah, Lee has double Acerola, so I mean he certainly has a path to win, but Russ I believe should have double puzzle left. I mean unless his last prize is a puzzle. Um, so I don't want to count Russ out of this one just yet. He's just gonna Acerola the pod and I think just Ride is beating for 60 here. The Acerola does also put a few more cards into his deck here off of the end, right? So that's actually pretty important. Let's see what Russ has. We've been going long enough now, I think, that this series would have tied long ago if this was a best of 3 at a regional. And I mean, PTCGO is doing the shuffling for these guys too. They obviously don't even have to worry about that. So this is only our game 3 here, and it's been about an hour 20. So you can really see the level of thought that's going into this mirror as opposed to we see a lot of standard best of 3s finish in half an hour, right? And that's not the case here. Or us just thinking really hard about, all right, what are all the possible scenarios here? Russ is a player. I mean, everyone at the highest levels of play does this, but specifically Russ, I remember, when I was first getting into competitive play, was one of the people that really wrote extensively on someone's PC about kind of how he thinks about the game and how he analyzes all these different lines. And so I was always just really, really impressed by Russ's ability to like see multiple turns ahead and to see all these multiple different lines of everything that his opponent could possibly do and what resources he would need to save to respond to all of those options. So I think it's cool to watch him play because obviously Russ has been out of the game for a couple of years now. But I think it's like watching him get back into it with this ZoroPod list is pretty fun to see because he was a pretty strong player back when he did play, especially when he wasn't playing his janky rogue decks. And obviously Lee, obviously no slouch either. I mean, we know him more for the past couple years for some newer formats, but this was the first season that Lee had started playing, so he is familiar with ZoroPod. Russ says bench Whippod. Lee does not bench the Whippod. He was about to though. So Russ, I think that indicates that Russ has double puzzle. Because we know that Russ has 4 Guzma in discard here, right? But I'm assuming he has double puzzle remaining for him. As you just go, do you go Energy Drive here? Like, where do you even go? Do you go into your other Zoroark? He needs to end here for sure. Don't forget to end, Lee. If you forget to end and you deck out, I'm gonna laugh. That's totally a play I would make, right? I would if I was in the scenario, I'd forget to end, right? That's a Tate play. That's why we have Lee on the team. Veggie Wimpod is so tough. He has to end here though. You can't Guzma. You have to end. This is what I love about Russ too. Because when you watch Russ play in real life, he will be sitting across the table from you telling you all of your plays that you're about to make before you make them. And he's doing it on PTCGO too. What a legend. Okay, Lee did not forget to play the end. That's good. We don't have to kick him off undaunted. He ends himself back into Guzma too. That's actually pretty good. And right, it's beating here. What is Russ's one card off the end? Let's see. Yeah, he saved Blower here for his own Float Stone. He can attach Choice Band there. That's going to actually enable to hit him some pretty relevant damage. First Impression would get to 150. That would knock out the Zoroark on the bench. And then also, obviously, Crossing Cut would get to 180 to knock out the Lele. So Lee just has to hope that this ends stuck, that Russ doesn't have anything to win this turn. I mean, it'd be a 3-card combo for the for Blower, Choice Band, Guzma. All right, First Impression here for 120. Oh, this is so tricky for Lee. Lee doesn't have another Pokemon. He can't like trade into a Pokemon here and knockout. I don't think. Does he have another Pokemon? Oh, he has Gliscopod. He's gonna wait. Gliscopod doesn't. Oh, he has Guzma. Insane from Lee. Every card in his deck. 0 cards in his deck. 0 cards in his hand. Every last possible resource. What an insane game 3. That was nuts. Literally came down to the last possible card that Lee had available. He finished the game with 0 cards in deck, 0 cards in hand. I don't know if I've ever seen that. You certainly don't see that very often. That was an insane game 3. And Lee's going to go up 2-1 in the series, but this one does not feel at all like it's over. I could very well see Russ swinging this one back and us going to a game 5 here. This is a series. Grab your popcorn, grab your drinks, settle in, guys. I think we've got probably 2 more games ahead of us, but just by the atmosphere I'm feeling here. Get your friends in chat too. Go hit us up with a retweet over on the Undaunted Twitter. Get everyone into this stream. We've got a super crazy best of 5 here. Yeah, Russ's final prize in that game was the puzzle. That's what I was speculating about. I figured he had probably, like, most likely had double puzzle available to him, but actually it was that last prize. So that's super unfortunate for Russ. You know, you hate when that kind of stuff happens. It's out of your control in terms of prizing. But that was one of the most enjoyable games of Pokemon I've watched in a long time. I'm running out of mojo to even cast here. I'm just kind of like sitting here, like staring analyzing these guys' plays. Like, all right, like, all right, Russ finally rips the Rob Bridget, something he was having a bit of trouble with in the first couple games. So Lee is also gonna rip the Rob Bridget here. We see optimal ZoroPod here firing on all cylinders. All right, if you're Lee here, I mean, we've seen Lee just Bridget for triple Zorua, I think, in all of his games so far. Um, I think he started Wimpod in all of the first 3 games and then just went Bridget for triple Zorua. So we're actually just going to see the same thing here um, and just pass. And this obviously ensures against like Russ just taking the knockout on the active Zorua. Lee still has a board of 3 Zoros to work with. Um, we could also see Russ like go for Guzma on the Wimpod, but all right, now Russ is cooking. I think Russ like we have yet to see Russ like really hit the ground running in any of these games thus far. It's game 4, and this really feels like the first time where he's actually had a good setup. This is actually a cracking setup for game 4 here. For turn 2, triple or double Zorark and a Zorua and a Gliscopod in play, and the energy and Cynthia. Like Russ is cooking right now. Lee has Evo Soda to work with here, so he can see some cards off trade next turn at the very least. He has a DCE for Ridus Beating as well. Cynthia off the top is actually really nice. And then the main question here is, do you Enhanced Hammer or do you save the Enhanced Hammer for later when you're able to combo it with like an N, or when Russ is just more exhausted of resources? Lee is just going to choose an Enhanced Hammer. I mean, obviously you can get that resource back with Double Puzzle. You can loop that a couple times. And knows that Russ's deck is still pretty thick, like has to find one of those 3 remaining DCEs out of a 35 card deck, so I think the Enhanced Hammer is correct there. There is always the argument of, oh, I can save that for like when Russ has more DCEs in discard, more like things like Puzzle or more supporters in discard, or when you compare it with like an end to a super low hand as well. But this seems fine, just definitely puts on the early game pressure. And the pressure's on Russ now to find like Acerola and a double, or Acerola and a grass or something. Lee's put the pressure on. Russ needs to respond to it here. Oh, I think I updated. I just realized I updated the score incorrectly here. I gave. Oh no, we're right. We're right. Lee with 2 games, Russ with 1. That game 3 was so crazy. I forgot who even won. It felt like no one should have won that game because both players were just like playing so insanely well, mapping out all their resources perfectly. So Russ actually with a nice turn here, just picking off these single prizers that Lee's been putting down. So weakening Lee's board, both in terms of late game board state with trades and in terms of obviously limiting Lee's Ridus Beating damage as well. Trying to prevent some 2-shots here. I love the parallel here from Russ. We've only seen parallel so far in this series placed against the opponent, right? Like limiting their bench. We have not yet seen anyone place their own parallel to limit their own bench. But we just saw that from Russ. Unable to find Acerola or Max Potion there, he says, well, I'm just going to do this another way. I'm just going to get rid of my damaged Zorark with parallel and take that, 2 prize liability off the board for Lee. So Pretty cool usage of parallel. Not something that you see too often in the mirror. Usually it's better to just limit your opponent's bench, but Russ wanted to just clear the damage off the board there, and I can't say I disagree. Also has the effect of actually limiting first impression damage here as well if Lee were to go that route, so it would actually only do 100 instead of 120. So also has that little minor effect as well, but not going to matter too much. Lee's just going to ride his beating for 110 here, and that does set up nicely for the 2-shot. So Russ now would like to find Max Potion or Acerola here. There's the Acerola. That's one piece. He actually goes into Glycopod here. Just a first impression. He's just really just cycling through his attackers here. Louis trading away a Bridget here. Now he wants to find his own Acerola. There's a Lele to get it for him. And trading away the Ultra Ball here. Just wants to see if he can raw draw the Acerola before committing a Lele to the board. But I think you Lele for Acerola here. And you can maybe just, you can just go in with your own first impression here, actually. As Russ is somewhat limited in what he's able to do next turn because of his parallel being in play, right? Like Russ needs to find a blower to remove his parallel before he could do something like Wonder Tag next turn. So that is a little bit of a harmful aspect of that parallel play from Russ. It is going to limit him a little bit here. Yeah, Wonder Tag. I like Wonder Tag for Acerola here for Lee. Pick up the Zorak, and you can just go in with a first impression here. I mean, you have to go in with first impression. Lee already committed his attachment to that Glycopod there. The question now is, do you throw this other Zorua back down? Which actually is a tricky call to make. I think I would, but it is a little bit of a difficult choice. You got to think about math here too. Like first impression does 120, so it actually does 100. I forgot about the damage reduction. That's actually super important. Lee should still have the juice to get there next turn with Riotous Beating, but like Russ can very well just play an Acerola here. And we've been seeing Glycopod come into use in this game a lot more than we've been seeing in the previous games. We saw a lot more of just like Zorak wars, even Lele wars for Russ in the first couple games, but been seeing Glycopod pulling its weight a lot more in this game 4 here. I think because people focus on how broken of a card Zorak was, and by broken I mean like I'm a fan of Zorak. I think Zorak was definitely skillful. I just mean it in the sense that obviously it was very good and meta defining. But people tend to overlook how cool of a card Glycopod was, I think. Like, First Impression is a pretty cool attack in this format with all these Guzmas and Acerolas. Armor Press, a super cool mid-range attack, and there's actually a lot of really interesting plays you can make with the damage reduction. And it's also, like, you're committing a lot of energy to Glycopod at that point, so you have to think really carefully about whether you're going to use Armor Press, like whether you can afford that energy commitment. And then obviously Crossing Cut, just a really cool like finisher, knocks out Lele's with a Choice Band. And you can actually pull off a lot of really neat plays with Crossing Cut, especially if you know your opponent doesn't have access to like a Guzma. Lee is actually just paring down that Zorak line here. Burning those out of his hand with the Ultra Ball. Says, I'm just going to try to coast off Glycopod for the remainder of this game. He's got 2 Glycopods now with energy attached, so actually that's a really solid spot to be in. And I do like the energy commitment here, and I think he's just gonna armor press here. Um, with the Parallel City damage reduction, it is gonna hit 110 instead of 130, but that is still enough for the 2-shot. And he's just hoping here that Russ. Ooh, you could actually, if I'm Lee here, you could actually double puzzle and get your enhanced hammer back. I think he might be going for that. Yeah, he's gonna grab the enhanced hammer and just maybe another Acerola. Yeah, I like this a lot because you just end Russ to 3, right? And he's got a couple DCEs down. If you get rid of another one there, Russ has a bunch of trades to work with, but still his deck is thick enough that there's no guarantee that he hits the DCE, as well as the Acerola that he needs as well. So I like that double puzzle actually a lot from Lee. Russ is going to start those trades up. He needs to hit an Acerola and a DCE. He could also like try to hit double puzzle of his own here potentially. There's the blower from Russ. That's actually pretty important. Um, Limiting the armor press damage here. That's actually pretty important because Lee was relying on this choice band to get armor press up to 130. And then obviously it gets reduced to 110 with the parallel. So that, that sets up for the clean 2-shot. If Russ plays this, yeah, if Russ gets rid of the choice band there, well, actually, he's getting rid of his own parallel here, though, too, so the damage reduction no longer applies, actually. I think he might just be going for Acerola. Yeah, he's just going to Acerola the active here. And go into a first impression. So Russ definitely with the lead in this game, I would say, just in terms of prizing and in terms of like early board position. But this is another game that's looking like it could drag out for a pretty long time. Lee has double Acerola in hand. I mean, it's really just going to become another war of attrition. Um, and we can choose now whether to go in with Zorark, whether to go in with Golisopod, his second Golisopod. One thing to be wary of is if Lee does bench this second Wimpod, Russ can just Guzma knock it out and go to 2 prize cards. Then all Russ needs to do is cross and cut a Lele to finish the game. So you actually have to be super careful here about benching the second Wimpod if you're Lee. I think you definitely check to see how many Guzma Russ has left. Lee is also thinking about the energy drive here. I don't know if I would do that because Russ could crossing cut in that scenario. So I don't know if I would send the Lele up. He's actually just going to first impressions. Just save the DCEs, save some resources. I think that's fine. You can armor press next turn, still be okay, so. This player's starting to get a little bit lower on resources. I mean, Russ. It looks like Russ has 4 puzzles still to work with, so not so much for Russ. And I mean, Lee has plenty to work with too, but definitely we saw deck sizes start to get really, really low last game. As once you enter, like, obviously both players had really strong starts with a turn one Bridget, um, and they've been drawing pretty well since then. So no one's been able to like run away with this game quickly. And once that happens, like once everyone builds up a stable board as ZoroPod, games go really, really long because you have so many Acerolas, you can get stuff back with puzzle, and if you conserve your energy and float zones correctly, you just have so many attackers you can move back and forth between, um, that it's really hard to just take knockouts every turn or even every other turn. Russ plays down his first pair of puzzles here. So we know in game three, Russ's last prize was his his last puzzle, which was super unfortunate. We're gonna hope and assume that he has access to all 4 of them here. And just goes for float DCE here, which is super interesting. Ooh, there's the crossing cut play, actually. I like this a lot. So he sets everything up to just crossing cut this Lele and just pivot back into his Zorak with the float stone. However, Lee does have Guzma. Lee can go after this Glycopod now. Um, so Lee is at least going to clean like Russ's big investment off the board in terms of his attacker. Uh, but like that's Lee's first 2 prizes of the game, right? So Russ only needs 1 more knockout to finish this one off. Lee needs at least 2 more knockouts on top of this one. So Russ still, I think, ahead by far in the game. However, this is going to be a nice turn for Lee to try to get back into it. And he's actually going to take the knockout here with Energy Drive, which is super cool. Um, yeah, definitely. Okay, don't mess that one up, Lee. Obviously, you want to drop your parallel after your Guzma there. Obviously, if Lee paralleled before the Guzma there, Russ just bumps his Glycopod off the field, and that whole line of play is ruined for Lee. So good thing he didn't mess up the order of operations there. But Energy Drive taking the knockout here is actually really, really nice. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, no Kukui in these lists, so no way for Zorak to get to 170, and Crossing Cut obviously has already been used. Not that Russ could have any way to use it next turn anyway, but this Lele is going to survive for a turn here, and then Lee just has Acerola to heal all that damage right off. So taking the KO with Energy Drive here is a really nice line of play. And that's Lee's first prizes here of this game 4. Getting the parallel down is also pretty nice there. But Russ does have resources left to work with. You know, double Zorak. He still has double puzzle in deck, or should. We're gonna assume that he didn't have double puzzle, or didn't have puzzle as his last prize once again. Um, we'll see what he wants to do here. No way to, no way to knock out this Lele. Obviously, I mean that would just be game if he had that. So what do you do if you're Russ? Do you start looking for Guzma? Would you rather pull something off the bench? Would you rather N? I mean, Lee has a lot of resources in this hand. I think almost regardless of anything Russ does this turn, Lee has an answer to it in his hand. So Russ needs to start thinking not about winning in 1 or 2 turns, but about how he's going to win this game if it drags out. Um, and I like the N there for that reason. Just limit what Lee has. I mean, Lee's no Acerola there anymore. So and the question is, what do you trade away? I think the grass probably. Yeah. There's Lele for Acerola, so he's able to draw back into it there. Um, And this is going to set up nicely for him to just ride his beating here, and then all Lee needs next turn is one last Pokemon or his Choice Band. So let's see what he has in deck. He does have a Wimpod left in deck, so next turn Lee would only need to draw into his Wimpod or his Choice Band in order to get the two-shot. He's just debating heavily here. I think it's correct to go in with the Zoroark. This means that next turn you can Guzma and First Impression. Um, yeah, and there's the Riders beating, so we'll see what Russ has. He's got two trades to work with here. I don't know what exactly he has left for resources. I believe he does have double puzzle. I don't know how many raw Acerola he has remaining in the deck. Um, Russ is not slamming down any cards quite yet, so indicating that he doesn't have like a huge immediate combo play here. He's got to think about it a little bit more carefully. Definitely, like, you want to try to move the Zoroark or heal the Zoroark somehow, because if Lee is able to achieve the two-shot next turn, um, that's... I mean, obviously that's a lot better for Russ. That's like his route back into the game, so... Just a ride is beating for 60. Lee top deck's a puzzle. He has the opportunity to trade into another puzzle piece here or an Acerola. There's choice. Does choice get him there? No, he's actually too short. 20 short on the knockout. So he could potentially Guzma here. I kind of like Guzma-ing the Zoroark. Or he could just retreat First Impression or retreat Armor Press. Retreat Armor Press is actually a pretty strong play. Well, yeah, he's just going to choose to go in there. Alright. Looks good for Lee. Let's see what Russ has. Does Russ have a response? How do you respond to this if you're Russ? I mean, one thing to note is that Lee is pretty low on energy, so an enhanced hammer could be a pretty strong play from Russ. But like Russ is also low on energy, so Russ needs to be even more careful with his attachments. This is looking like a good spot for Lee. Russ is just really thinking hard about this one. Anyway, I have left to pull this game out of the hat here. Man, this is so tricky for Russ. You have to think he has some kind of line remaining. I mean, it seems like Russ always has some play up his sleeve. We saw it game 2. Even when I count him out, he always has some line remaining. There's a double puzzle, so he can get something here. But he has almost nothing to work with. He has almost all of his resources are just in his discard pile. And there's crucially like there's no Guru. He can't get anything back. These guys aren't playing Guru in the list, so. Looking like it's gonna like the signs right now are pointing to a 3-1 victory for Lee in the series here, but Russ could have something that I'm missing. We'll just have to see if there's any way to pull it out. He only needs to take one prize, so I mean it could just be as simple as, you know, maybe you play an N and you attach an energy here and Lee like whiffs something, but I think you need to attack with the pod because Zora, there's like Russ just does not have enough Pokemon left for Ride Beating to do enough damage to win this game. I think he needs to attack with Glycopod. And there's the end of 2. Lee with just one trade. Russ trading is parallel. And a pass. So you trade, I would think, probably the blower here. Grass. I think Lee is just going to Guzma. Yeah, I think that just seals it. I mean, obviously Lee has to get through one more prize, but I don't think Russ has any way to win now. He was just relying on that Wimpod, the Wimpod to become a Glycopod to get him through the rest of this game, and Russ is down 4 puzzle, I think. I don't think he has any way to get back into this. Ride Beating just cannot do enough damage to close this game. Energy Drive doesn't do it. Like, Energy Drive could theoretically come up with a 2-shot, but Lee can just crossing cut, so that doesn't do it either. Russ going for the Guzma. Guzma, Energy Drive, just hope that Lee doesn't have it. Hope that Lee whiffs for a few turns here. But he has Max Potion. Oh, it's just so hard for Russ to win this game at this point. I almost think there's nothing he can do. There's the Max Potion. You could even potentially wait one more turn on the Max Potion, as I still don't think Russ would have any way to do anything next turn, but here's the Ride Beating going to come down. And Cynthia... Oh, he's got it. He just retreats and first impressions. Or, sorry, crossing cut. So that's going to be the game. Lee Bui going to take the series 3-1 here over Russ, but that should not tell you like how close each individual game was. I mean, especially Game 3, I think was one of the most exciting games of Pokemon I've watched in a very long time. Like, Game 3 was crazy. Both players just playing super, super well in the late game, managing all their resources. Lee obviously just barely pulling away with the win after with 0 cards in deck and 0 cards in hand. He used literally every resource that he could have possibly used. So really, really, really fun series, really entertaining. I think that was maybe my favorite one to cast so far of our best of 1 series here on Undaunted. So thank you guys all for coming out to the stream today. We went almost 2 hours with with just 4 games there. Didn't even get to a game 5. So I think Lee's gonna hit up Russ and see if Russ wants to jump in to Discord here for a second just to have a chat about the matchup. So we may or may not have that, but stay tuned for a minute or two if you guys are interested in hearing that.
Yeah, add Russ on.
Okay. I'm not
Oh,
sure. I'm not sure if I'm friends with him. What's his Discord?
yeah.
What's his Discord?
Yeah, I'm asking him now.
Okay. So guys, we chat. We will have Russ on for just a quick chat here, going over the matchup. Going over the.
In chat.
Okay. It didn't work. You sure you typed it right?
Let me check. Lapar. Yeah, that's right.
Can you try adding him to the call?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what it said to me too. You sure that's right?
Yeah, he said try capital R.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, capital R.
Okay. There we go. Oops. There we go. All right, we got Russ coming in, guys. What's up?
What's up, dude?
Russ.
That was a crazy series, honestly. That was the most enjoyable best of 5 of Pokemon I've watched in a long ass time.
That's okay. I don't like not playing with Guru,
Yeah.
and there's like a bunch of logic I have behind it.
Yeah.
And what it is though it is fun to think in this game again because this game's dog shit right now. But like
Yeah.
that was extremely entertaining, at least from like oh, all right, we missed this. What can you do now? That
Right.
kind of thing.
Well, that's what
Um,
like when we and Danny did the Drampa mirror, I kept
mhm.
saying the same thing. Like, oh, there's actually because in standard right now it's like there is one correct play almost every turn, and then in these like in ZoroPod or in Drampa, I'm like, well, shit, there's like 4 different things you could do with this hand, and I don't know which one is correct. I have to think about it for a minute,
Yeah.
which is sick.
So yeah, which is why like I purposely always include Guru
Yeah.
to mitigate your early game snowball disadvantages, as well as
Right.
it allows you to keep tempo. So it rewards you for like playing an aggressive start and taking a big lead.
Right.
And then it also rewards you for when you draw like garbage. So like that game I lost because I had to discard a grass energy, and I had to I had to discard my secondary Zoroark because I couldn't let you take the free prizes off it and get a huge lead. But
Yeah.
it's not like
Right, right,
I'm used to playing knowing that I have Guru there and knowing I'm never gonna lose, right? So like
right.
it gets to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna take this lead. I'll take a turn so I can go up like a Galissapod that's not gonna generate any advantage. Bring up a guru and just throw back 2 puzzles and pass. And then my opponent was just like, all right, I think I lost. And I was like, oh, I'm aware. Like you did, but like
Right,
for
right.
now, like we have to go through this, right?
Yeah.
And that's also like it's hindrant upon only playing one float stone when you don't play guru, right? So the blowers become like in a way this ghetto red card going into your opponent's turn. So like if they have an early float stone that they get down and then you end up KOing that Pokemon that has the float, the game's pretty much over. And it wasn't like that when you had Guru, because again it's just like, you know, infinite resources upon infinite resources.
Right.
And so it leads to awkward trading moments, and then that's when like Tapu Koko can shine. And the whole point of like Guru being somewhat balanced and in the mirror is because you have parallel cities, and so with like when you interact with parallel cities, you're sacrificing a spot potentially on a 4-spot board for your stupid Guru, and then like if you got paralleled on turn 1 and then you couldn't Lele before you got paralleled, then you're down to like one Zoroark and one Golisopod, and you're losing the game if that happens. If like your opponent has anything, right? And so that's like the awkward interactions that Lei clearly get to solve, right? I think I played puzzle twice in all those games. I did not draw puzzle very often. Like I know game 1 I didn't double puzzle. I know the next game I double puzzled once, and then I didn't puzzle again until
game
the
3.
last one.
Game 3, you prized one as your last
Prize last puzzle.
Yeah. If that didn't happen, I won like in 17,000 different ways. So I was like, oh, this is like a super free game.
I was speculating about it because I was like, did Russ like either he has double puzzle here or he just isn't drawing it somehow, and then I was like, oh, it must be his last prize.
That was a really fun experience. I just got reminded of why I quit this game. I was like, oh, no, great. This is why I didn't like this time kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that was super fun. I think Lei played it like extremely well.
Yeah.
I think you're far too aggressive with your enhanced hammers. Like
that's the one thing.
When you enhanced hammer before you damage the target, it's a bad look. So like what you need to do is you want to enhance to like mitigate late game decision making,
right?
Or like allow your opponent to make misplays with it. Like there are times when I would have just been like DCE retreat off my Zoroark instead of fishing for the Acerola, simply because like I need to make a separate aggressive play and I can't let that Zoroark stay inactive, right? And if your logic is like they're always going to have the Acerola, then you're not really playing to like both the odds as well as a proper win condition with enhanced hammer. This is why like when I had Guru and like I was just decking people left and right, is because like I'd let them like ramp up, get a little aggressive. Like they have a DC Zoroark active, they Guzma, and then they hit something on my bench, and then they have the DC damaged Zoroark on the bench, and use Guzma that up as your proper target, and then hit it. Right? If they max potion, then they lose the energy anyway, which I was planning to do that turn. And then you enhance hammer, like I think you enhance hammer early 3 out of the 4 games.
I also pointed that out, Lee. Like you went like enhanced hammer when Russ had 0 energy and discard and like an 8-card hand, and then you like end or something, and I was like, well, you want to like that doesn't hurt him at all, basically.
Right. I think I was debating that. The thing is, like, since we don't run Mallow, I just want to get the hammer in the discard so I can double puzzle for it. Yeah. Because I figured like you're more likely to draw into double puzzle than you are the one hammer, right?
Sure, but like what you want to do is you want to make me waste those puzzles on other stuff and have the hammer hit me when it's actually critical.
Yeah.
Because like if not until then, hammer is always a trade target, which is very rare in the mid to late game stages of the deck. Like in the early game when you have bridges and all these things, you're like cycling out. Trade feels great, right? When the end hits you and then you have like 2 or 3 to work with, and then all these cards become broken. You're like, all right, this is like a critical piece. I cannot get rid of this choice band later on, right?
Like
and then
when
those times hit, and like when people like, that's why I love pod mirrors, because when someone's like really really bad, you can super see it in like the mirror. Like they'll throw on choice fans like there's no tomorrow, and they'll like do tap stuff left and right. And they're like, all right, there's multiple blowers, you're gonna lose this game, right? And so
3 blowers.
That's another reason why I like playing Guru is because it lets you play like aggressive. Also, it lets you like you have these awkward turns when you don't even want to attack the opponent because you know they're just gonna Acerola, and you need to do like other setups for your board in terms of like getting rid of the parallel city in play, getting other multiple Pokemon play, like fetching your own parallel city with a blower, so you match your blower the same turn with a parallel city to parallel them back. And that's like another key play that I feel like we miss out on because we don't have the Guru. we also enter these states where we can force each other to have 4 prizes each, and like you want to just have your opponent take a 1 prizer because you know you're never going to bench another 1 prize for the rest of the game because you use max potions, and that's the turn you can Guru, which is again why I love having Guru in the deck so much, right? And that's just like another similar interaction. Like I was like, oh, I'm going to force it to be like a 5 prize time to end this game instead of like a 4. And that's like those turns is when you meant Guru. I know you saw it because you took so much time on your turns. Like you're going through, you're like, this is a lot of thinking, right?
Yeah,
so
bro.
Like, yeah, that's like another turn when you're like, I wish I had Guru right now just to not think, because I'll think about throwing back these like puzzles and this goes when the game ends. But like it's very good. I had a lot of fun.
For sure.
Yeah, that was fun, bro. That was a lot of thinking. Fried.
Yeah, this interaction. You like the double ace roll if it was broken, right? It's not.
Oh yeah,
it's
so good. Double ace.
Yeah.
The little max spot. Yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah. That's sick. And then like the parallel city plays. I think the one game I beat you is I'm pretty sure you noticed it when you couldn't cross and cut for a game because you had parallel city in play, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I had to get the third.
You had a banded Glycopod?
Or I think I might have been out of lower.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, even if he hits it, like I'm pretty sure you're out because I saw your discard and you were out of blower.
Oh no. So I had to use crossing cut like earlier in the game to save my Glisar from getting knocked out. And when I used my last double puzzle, I didn't grab a Pokemon, so I couldn't knock out the Coco right as beating. I think that was what cost me the game.
Yeah. No, that was
like
you won the game anyway. That was game 3 when I couldn't get my second puzzle. I was positive.
Okay.
That was the same game you're talking about where I was like, oh, it's 80 and 80.
No, I was talking about game 2. Yeah. I was talking about game 2 when I did that.
You crossing cut early in game 2? I'm pretty sure you just armor pressed and I was playing like.
Yeah, I think I crossing cut early game 2, and I remember I needed like to get double because I prized double Zora game 2. So I was like, okay, I can just like get 2 of these off my prizes, and then I can hit for 120 on Coco. But the last prize was a Zora, so I can only max out 100 then.
I did get the VOD saved, so you guys can go back and take a look at it if you want. I'll throw it up on YouTube.
Dope. You got it saved this time?
Yes, I remember to save it this time.
All right. Man.
Oh, that one turn when I was trying to target Tapu Koko to end the game.
Right.
And you played double puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Your win con was blower second bench double Lele, and then parallel city yourself your own Coco off bench.
Oh,
I think you're trying to force the N instead when all you had to do is just regulate my win con, and then you're golden. That's why I was like, all these dudes, I was like, dude, I'm drawing like hot shit right now. I'd be chilling like if it was like a little bit better if I could play my puzzles first,
Yeah.
So
I think I might have had the cards to do it. Oh yeah, that would have been a good play.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, does this just clear Coco with his own parallel city, and I just lose? Like, not only that, but like you would -20 my pod, and then I just lose off of that too, because I couldn't damage it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Maybe I should just not bench Coco that game and like save myself the trouble.
Yeah, I thought.
I'm not sure if I actually need. I don't think I actually even used it. It's just there for the extra Roddy's beating damage, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like there, and then the Acerola when you have a Wimpod on bench but no float yet, like when you haven't seen it.
Oh yeah.
Then the Coco is valuable there, like for the free retreat.
Yeah.
But I don't think that actually happened much. You're pretty much just always like right as beating or hitting with like armor presses and stuff. So like it was still solid exchanges. At times like I purposely only bench Coco when I know that play's coming. When I'm forced to like I have a grass energy already in hand. I have an Acerola with like a Zoro and 1 Zoroark. I know I'm gonna Acerola. And if I don't, then that's cool. Like I can just remove it later on with something else or sacrifice it as a single prizer. But
I'm gonna run, guys. But thanks again, Russ, for doing this. You're welcome back. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Russ. Fun times.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, peace out. You too.
Peace.